Hi, penguins. So as I said earlier, I'm going to teach you the story about Passover. And I know you guys know a little bit, but we're going to tell the whole story, and then I'm going to show you my special Seder plate, and then you guys tomorrow will get to show me yours. And remember, if you don't have one, you can just show us anything that's super special to you. It can be anything. I'm super excited. So let's get started on our story. Are you guys ready? All right. So this story begins in a long time ago, far, far away in a country called Egypt. There was a mean, powerful king, and his name was Pharaoh. He ruled Egypt. He was worried that all of the Jewish people would fight against him one day. So he decided that he was going to make all the Jewish people slaves. That's not very nice, is it? As slaves, the Jewish people worked so hard. From morning until night, they hammered, they dug, they carried these really heavy bricks. They built palaces and cities all night long, and they didn't get to rest. The Jewish people hated being slaves. They cried and cried and cried and asked God for help. God chose a man named Moses to lead the Jewish people. Now, Moses was a nice guy. He went to Pharaoh and he said, God is not happy with the way you're treating all the Jewish people. He wants you to let the Jewish people go so they can finally be free. What do you think Pharaoh said? He said, no, I will never let them go. Moses says, all right, well, if you don't listen, God has many terrible things that are coming called plagues. And there's 10 plagues that will come to you. But Pharaoh didn't listen. And so what happened? The plagues came. Remember one of the plagues? We sang a song about it this morning. Pharaoh woke up in his bed. And what was all over his bed and his head and his nose and his toes? Frogs. That's right. There were frogs everywhere. There were other plagues too. He had wild animals running in and out of their homes. Balls and balls of hail fell from the sky. Ouch. And these really icky bugs called locusts ate all of their food. Oh, that's crazy, huh? Each time there was a new plague, Moses would say, okay, stop. I'll let them go. I'll let them go. So Pharaoh would take away the plagues. And then Pharaoh said, never mind. I changed my mind. The Jews have to stay. So God sent more plagues. Finally, after the 10th one, 10 whole plagues, Pharaoh let the Jewish people leave. Fearful that Pharaoh might again change his mind, the Jewish people had to get out so fast. They had no time to prepare food and allow their dough to rise into puffy bread. Because, usually we eat challah, right, on Shabbat. Well, they didn't have time to let their bread rise. So they only had enough time to make a flat, cracker-like bread. What's that called again? Matzah. Good job. That's why we eat matzah on Passover. They tied the matzah to their backs and they ran from their homes. Well, they hadn't gone very far before Pharaoh once again changed his mind, and he chased after them to bring them back to Egypt. The Jews ran as fast as they could, but all of a sudden they had to stop because they reached a huge sea of water. It was too big for them to swim across. Pharaoh and all his people were coming to get them, and they didn't know what to do. They prayed to God, and all of a sudden a miracle happened. Do you know what happened? The sea parted. The sea opened up super wide and they got to walk through the water. Isn't that cool? The Jews ran across, and right when they reached the other side, the walls of the water fell and the path was gone. And now the sea, called the Red Sea, separated the Jews and Egypt, and they were finally free. Isn't that cool? So, every year on Passover, we eat special food, sing songs, tell stories, and have a Seder. A Seder is a special meal that helps us to remember this wonderful story and this journey from slavery to freedom. So that's Passover. So to celebrate Passover, we have a Seder. Seder means order. So we eat all the foods in a certain order, and every food has a different meaning of why we eat it. So why do we eat matzah? Remember, they didn't have time to make bread. They only had time to make flatbread. That's why we eat matzah on Passover. Good job. We eat other things too. So this is my Seder plate. It's kind of a weird looking plate, right? It's not like a normal plate. There's little holes in them that you put all the different kinds of foods. So we have, here is where we put our bitter herbs, or, from the song, hot, 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 hot horseradish. That's where horseradish goes. We eat horseradish because it's bitter, and that's how we remember the bitterness and how mean that the slaves were to all the Jewish people. Then we have, here is charoset. Can you say charoset? That we've talked about is apples, grape juice, and cinnamon, and sometimes nuts go in there. It's super delicious, and you can even put that on your matzah. It's so yummy. So we put that there. The charoset symbolizes all the bricks that the Jews had to build all those temples when they were slaves. So that's that one. We have here parsley. Remember, super salty parsley. Remember that from the song? We eat parsley, and you know what we dip parsley in? We dip it in water, but not just plain water. We add salt to it to make it super salty. That is to symbolize the tears of the slaves, because the slaves were so sad, and they cried and cried and cried. So that's why we eat parsley with salt water. We have the egg here. We eat hard-boiled eggs. I bet some of you guys have eaten those before. So the egg symbolizes spring or a new life, right? Because the Jews made it out and they got to start over. So that symbolizes spring. And I think I got everything on here. So that's on my Seder plate. I cannot wait to see yours. Also, tomorrow, can you guys tell me if you've had any of these foods? Have you had matzah before? Or charoset? Or a hard-boiled egg? Have you had parsley before and dipped it in salt water? I want to hear what you've had and what you've liked. And I can't wait until we all get to try those foods together and see what we liked and what we didn't like, right? We also get to eat matzo ball soup, which is my favorite soup in the world. So that is Passover. I can't wait tomorrow morning to talk to you more about it. We'll sing more Passover songs, and I can't wait for you to show us either your Seder plates or anything that's super special to you. I'm so excited. Thank you for listening to the Passover Story. If you have any questions about it, Marco Polo me. I'd be happy to answer them for you. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning.